is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always preserves. Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. I acted like a child. When I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see only in a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now we know in part. Then we shall know fully, even as we are fully known. One of my favorite stories is about a woman who was getting married. She was nervous and scared about what her future might hold. And so at the rehearsal for her wedding, the preacher pulled her aside and talked about her uneasiness and gave her some advice. He said to her, "Now tomorrow, when you get married, I want you to think of three things. As you are preparing to come down the aisle to meet your husband-to-be and to continue the ceremony, you will be nervous and you will be scared. You'll have jitters and you won't be quite sure if you can make each and every one of those steps. But what I'd like you to do is, first of all, to concentrate on the aisle. As you're arm in arm with your dad as he prepares to give you away, simply think about that aisle. Next, as you walk down the aisle, look forward, keep your head up high, and look at the altar. This altar area that you know so well as you've been a part of this congregation, as a symbol of the sacrifice that you're making to give up part of your life to join into a better life with your husband. And think about what the altar represents in your faith and your life. Think about the altar. Third, I'd like you to think about your husband. Look in his eyes. Look at the smile on his face. Look how proud and happy he is to have you as a bride. So when you come to church tomorrow, think of those three things. So the next day, the wedding happened. And as the guests were gathering and people were finding their places, the men took their place at the front of the church. And then the bride-to-be got with her dad just outside the doors of the sanctuary. As the wedding march proceeded, people stood and they were in awe of her beauty. She was arm in arm with her dad as she began to walk down the aisle, still very nervous, but she remembered the words of the pastor. And so she began to repeat to herself, aisle, altar, hymn. Aisle, altar, hymn. Aisle, altar, hymn. My friends, the simplicity of this story brings out a truth that too many of us live, that we seek to alter those around us. That if everyone would just get with the program, if everyone would just see things as we see them, everything would be okay. But in the words of the passage I read for you to begin this devotion, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, beginning in verse 4, it reminds us of what love is and what love is not. And one of the advices that we have in this particular passage is for us to stop acting childish. When I was a child, I thought like a child, I talked like a child, I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I put childish ways behind me. One of the ways we practice and live out love is by stop being childish. But this passage also says that we only know part of the story. We only know part of what others might be struggling with, that others might be dealing with. I've said over the last several weeks, given some advice both in these devotions, but as well as in my conversations with folks and in my own mind and heart, to treat each day and the people we come across as believing that those we come across are doing the very best that they can. This helps us to think about what others might be going through, even when they say and do things we don't agree with, things that we would not do ourselves. But just imagine that they're doing the best that they can and treat them with grace, treat them with love. But since we only know in part, Part of acting in love is getting all the facts, getting all of the story straight, looking into the eyes and the lives of others. I've often discovered that when there are controversies and difficult circumstances and situations that I deal with, that the whole story, the whole idea changes when I know someone from the other side. When I know someone who's struggling with the things that I am against and opposed to, when I meet others who are different than me, and I can look into their eyes and look into their lives, it changes how I feel. It changes how I think about things. This is why the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 13 says that we see only poorly as dimly in a mirror, but one day we will see face to face. In order to act out love, in order to know these things that love is and love is not from 1 Corinthians 13, we must also listen. Listen to the words that people use, but also to the words that they don't use. Listen to their lives. Listen to their struggles. Listen to what their lives say. But it's also important for us to think. Think before we speak. There's a great acronym for this particular word, think, that helps us to imagine what love might be like. To use the letters of THINK to describe what love looks like. First of all, is it true? Is something you're about to say or do, is it true? Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So are the things that you're about to say, the things you think of, are they of God? Are they of Christ? If they are, then they will be helpful and they'll be able to help you act out in love. H, is what I'm about to say, is what I'm thinking, is what I'm doing, is it helpful? Is it helpful to me? Is it helpful to my congregation, to my community, to my family? Is it helpful? This is a way to evaluate our actions and our thoughts. Is what I'm about to do helpful? I'm fond of saying to the youth in our church as well as to folks at council, when something is destructive or something is difficult or something's mean, I say, that just wasn't very helpful. How is it that we can use our actions and our words to be helpful in the world? Is it inspiring? Too often we live with a negative personality. We live with the negative thoughts. And we are invited today, as we think about love this Advent season, to inspire love in others. How is it that our actions, our words, and our thoughts can be inspiring? And is it necessary? Too often we are frivolous in our use of time, and we simply fleet away our moments and our days. Is what we say, is how we act, and how we interact with others, is it necessary? If it's necessary, then it can be beneficial and it can lift people up. Finally, when we use the word in the acronym for think as a way to encourage us to love, is it kind? All we ask, all God asks for us, is to be kind, be compassionate, treat others with the grace that God has first given us. And when we do that, we'll find power, grace, and wonder in life. My friends, it is my hope that you will be inspired in this Advent season to be about love, to receive the love of God that was born at Christmas, but also to give the love of God that is yours freely to give away, and discover that the more that we give, the more that we also have and experience the love of God. I want to tell you just a little bit about the schedule that we'll have over the next several weeks. This coming Sunday, December 20th, is the fourth and final Sunday of Advent. We will continue to meet online only that day. And then next Thursday, December 24th, Christmas Eve, we will hold one in-person worship service at 7 p.m. in our worship center. We will continue to maintain social distancing, and we ask that you all wear a mask while coming in and out of the sanctuary. As you come into the worship center, you would wear your mask once you sit down. If you'd like to take your mask off, you are welcome to do so. But also, as you are here, and if you plan on joining us in singing, we also ask that you sing with your mask on. so that we can limit the spread of the virus as we are together. But then on December 27th and January 3rd, we will go back to online services only. And this is not so much because we don't feel like we can gather and continue to gather in person, but it really is a time for me personally to take some time off. It has been a grueling and long schedule over these last several months, learning new things and producing much content. I need a break. And so I'm excited about Christmas Eve, and I am excited to celebrate together in person. I know that it's a little odd to take a step backwards and take a couple of Sundays off, but we will have worship experiences available on our website, on our YouTube site, those 2 Sundays, December 27th and January 3rd, and we hope that you will participate in those at 10 o'clock each of those weeks. I hope you have had a wonderful Christmas season, and I hope you can join us as we continue to worship God and do the ministry of the Macon United-Methodist-Church together. God bless you, and have a great day.